I want Jazz Chisolm. That is the target.
That was a pivot.
That is the target for the San Francisco Giants.
He's an outfielder, right? Center fielder.
Well, he's back at second base now. He used to be a second baseman and a shortstop. That's where he used to play. He has been playing in center field. Last couple of weeks, the Marlins put him back at second base. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
Because they're shopping him.
Because they're about to trade him. I just read a story on CBS where they pulled through like all of the beat writers for each team and asked like, will they trade this person? Will they trade that person? I went through 4 different blurbs, and every single one of them said essentially 100% they are going to trade Jazz Chisolm. Jazz is 26 years old. He is fast. He has pop. He has 12 home runs this year. He's only hitting 250, OPS just around 740. Solid player, but he's got speed. He's an athlete, and he can play out in the outfield, and he can play in the infield. And are you ready for the kicker? He has got 2 more years of team control.
Right.
2 more years of arbitration. He only makes $2 million. So you may ask, well, why the hell would the Marlins trade him? 2 reasons. Number one, the Marlins do not believe that they are going to contend this year or next year or the year after that. They're not going to be ready to. So why not get rid of him? Secondly, you see a lot of teams do this now. You start to dangle guys early when they're not in a contract year because the return will be higher. So will he be cheap? No. I do think there will be a lot of competition. I'm seeing that the Mariners are interested. That's a first-place club. I'm seeing that the Yankees are interested. That's the Yankees. So it's not going to be easy. But I do think that the Giants have the capital to get this done. And if you're asking me who is a fit out there as a buy candidate for the Giants, I would argue Jazz Chisolm fits the bill
Completely.
better than anyone.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
A little bit of power, positional flexibility, and team control.
Love it. I don't know if the Marlins would be interested in Camilo Doval because he's the same situation. 2 more years of team control.
Right.
And so they may be like, well, we don't want to pay him either. So maybe they would just want a younger prospect, but I would.
What about Marco Luciano? A guy who can hit, and a guy who maybe positionally hasn't yet found his footing. If you're Miami and you think that he can still be a player, what is he, 24 now?
Marco? I don't even think he's that old.
So if you look at a guy who hasn't really had a chance here, and I think the Giants have mismanaged him positionally. 22.
He's 22. He'll be 23 in September.
He's shown some bright spots, and I do think that if you're a team like Miami, you can go ahead and either you're going to be our shortstop and we're going to try it, or you can make the switch and have him play left.
It's not a terrible idea, and in this moment, and I'm willing to really mess this up. Okay, if the Giants, if they're in a solid position 10 days from now, I think I'd do that. I think I would do that.
It'd probably be Luciano and maybe a 20 to 30th ranked prospect, somebody further down the board.
Some pitcher in Richmond.
Exactly.
Something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think I would do that, which is wild to me because I've been waiting on Luciano.
We
been
all
sitting here for 3 or 4 years waiting on Luciano. But that look, the reason is, because by the way, I don't know if you've seen this flurry the last 2 weeks in Sacramento. He's pumping the ball over the fence constantly. His bat is going.
Playing shortstop still?
Both.
Some second,
some short. He's pumping the ball. His bat is going to play. But the bottom line is when he was up here, I know that the quick sort of one-liner, and you use this, he's not a shortstop. I want to take it a step further. I don't know if Marco Luciano's a baseball player.
Wait, what? You just said he's pumping the ball all over the place.
Yeah, he can hit. He can hit, but he has absolutely no feel for the game whatsoever.
At 22, you can develop feel.
Can you?
I would hope.
I mean, this is the big leagues now, and there has to be instinct in all sports. It can't be, I pick up the ball and I'm looking around. That has to be second nature. It has to be like
there's infield though instinct and then outfield instinct. As a left fielder, it's a little bit easier to just track it down and know where to go with it.
You're starting from scratch if you put him in the outfield. He's never played out there in his life ever,
right?
Ever.
Well, and this is where I think the Giants have kind of mismanaged him.
Fair.
Because he's only played shortstop until about a month ago.
I just think that is something that I know you say age 22, and then I go, yeah, age 22. This guy's been playing baseball at a high level for over 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's going back to when he was age 12, but my point is this guy's been a major prospect his entire life. He's been around the game constantly. The Giants have been putting all resources into this guy for 4 years. And you come up and you don't know where to go with the ball? And you've never played another position?
Right.
That's a high level of concern.
At shortstop,
yes.
Sure. And I do think that, though, if the bat can play in the corner outfield a lot more, and second base a little bit easier, you still need to know situationally what's going on. And that's something that, I'll have to see for myself when he plays second base. But a guy with a bat like that, even you can go the Jorge Soler route and just be a DH.
You could.
If the bat plays.
You could, but even base running, like there were base running errors where you're like, dude, you get what's going on out here, right? Like he's so raw. He's Kuminga 2 years ago where you're like, okay, I see raw skills, but dude, what are you doing out there? Do you have a sense of what you're doing? Okay, we're going to have to teach you how to do this. And does that work or does it not? I would argue that usually, like Kuminga now has taken huge strides in 2 years and is still kind of raw in spots, but at least he's taking those strides. When someone is that raw, it's kind of less than 50-50 proposition that's going to play.
Well, if you're Miami and you are a year away from being a year away,
totally.
Maybe you're a team that can, have him come in and the bat will play and you can kind of work through some of those raw spots and some of the sore spots and figure out how you can make that happen. So if I'm Farhan Zaidi and I'm this organization and I look at what we have in terms of young players, and you've got Wisely and you've got Fitzgerald, those guys can play short. You got Casey Schmidt. He might be a 4A player. We don't yet fully know if he can actually be a major leaguer and stick and stay, but it looks to me like Luciano's kind of blocked in the middle infield in the short term. And if he is hitting well and the bat is live and you can use him to bring in a ready-made major league player, that's something you do right now.
Let me read this to you. This is interesting. This is from that article I was just reading where the Marlins experts weigh in on whether or not they're going to trade Jazz Chisolm. There's one in particular that is relevant to us. His name was Mike Axisa. Mike Axisa.
Love him.
And this is what he wrote. Big fan.
I like the journalist. I like the column.
I do too. And he said, yes, for sure they'll trade him. Okay, that's the start. The second base thing is an obvious showcase leading up to the deadline. I think Seattle is Chisholm's most likely landing spot, but for the sake of variety, I'll say the Giants. Thairo Estrada has not been good this season and is kind of sort of venturing into non-tender territory. And San Francisco really needs middle infield help. And they could always put Chisholm in center field too. I wonder if Giants president of baseball operations, which he called him Pobo, I've never heard that before. President of baseball operations.
Okay.
Pobo.
I thought that might have been Farhan's nickname.
I'm going to keep that. Well, it should be now. Let's call him Pobo.
Okay.
Pobo Farhan. Pobo Farhan Zaidi is beginning, he goes, I wonder if Farhan is beginning to feel some pressure to contend. You think?
Yeah, right.
Beginning to? And says, and we'll look to add immediate MLB roster help rather than continue with the, quote, optimized spare parts approach.
Optimized spare parts. Wisely and Fitzgerald, and I guess Estrada is not optimized spare parts because he's been the starter there for a couple of years.
Well, but he is optimized spare parts. He's somebody that they grabbed from the Yankees like for a nothing. Thairo and Yaz and Lamont Wade, these players are all cut from the exact same cloth. Like we got them when they were young. We got them for nothing. They perform better than you thought they would. Cool, they're starters. And it's like, right, but are they really needle movers?
Right.
That's a fair question. Jazz Chisolm. That's my target.
This is your Tim Anderson from last year because you were all about Tim Anderson.
And that was a freezing cold take. That was a terrible idea.
Yeah, but you were about that.
Yeah, this one's better.
Okay.
This is a better idea.
We'll see.
I hope.
We'll check back in a year.
Exactly. We're